He mocked her poverty until fate turned the tables. In the bustling city of Eldridge, where skyscrapers pierced the clouds and the streets hummed with the rhythm of ambition, lived a young woman named Alara Voss. At 25, Alara was a picture of quiet resilience. Her days were spent in the dim glow of a small coffee shop on the edge of the financial district, where she brewed lattes and cappuccinos for the suited executives who barely glanced her way. Her nights were lonelier still. In a cramped apartment above a noisy laundromat, the walls were thin and the rent was always a struggle to meet. Alara had grown up in the shadow of poverty. Her parents had passed away when she was a teenager, leaving her to fend for herself with odd jobs and scholarships that barely covered community college. She dreamed of more, of writing stories that could transport people to better worlds, but reality kept her grounded. Her clothes were secondhand, her meals simple, and her savings non-existent. Yet, she carried herself with a dignity that turned heads, her warm brown eyes holding a spark of unyielding hope. Across town, in a penthouse overlooking the river, resided Julian Hargrove. At 28, Julian was the epitome of privilege. Born into a family of old money, he had sailed through Ivy League schools on his father's connections and now worked as a junior executive at Hargrove Investments, a firm that managed fortunes for the elite. Julian was handsome in a polished way, sharp jawline, tailored suits, and a smile that could charm investors out of millions. But beneath the veneer lay an arrogance forged from never knowing want. He mocked those less fortunate, seeing poverty as a personal failing rather than a systemic trap.
Their paths crossed one crisp autumn morning at the coffee shop. Julian, running late for a meeting, burst through the door, his phone glued to his ear. "Make it quick," he barked at Alara without looking up. Alara nodded politely, her hand steady as she prepared the drink. But as she handed it over, Julian finally glanced at her. His eyes lingered on her faded apron, the slight tear in her sleeve, and the way her hair was tied back with a simple rubber band. A smirk curled his lips. "You know," he said, loud enough for the other customers to hear, "if you worked a little harder, maybe you wouldn't have to wear rags to work. Ever heard of ambition?" The shop fell silent. Alara's cheeks flushed, but she met his gaze evenly. "Ambition comes in many forms, sir. Some of us are just trying to survive." Julian laughed, a sharp, condescending sound. "Survive? Darling, that's what losers say. $1, crumpled as if it were charity. Buy yourself a new outfit. You need it." He strode out, leaving Alara humiliated. The other baristas whispered sympathies, but she brushed them off. Inside, though, his words stung like salt in a wound. That night, as she lay in bed listening to the washer spin below, she vowed to prove him wrong. Not for his sake, but for hers. Little did either know, fate was already weaving its threads. Over the next few months, Julian's life continued its upward trajectory. He closed deals that earned him bonuses in the six figures, partied at exclusive clubs, and dated models who graced magazine covers. He often returned to the coffee shop, not out of loyalty, but to flaunt his success. Each time, he'd make a snide remark about Alara's pitiful existence, as he called it. "Still here, huh? Guess some people are meant for the bottom rung." Alara endured it with grace, using the encounters as fuel. In her spare time, she poured her heart into writing. She had started a novel, a tale of a young woman rising from ashes. Inspired by her own struggles, she submitted chapters to online forums, receiving encouragement from strangers. One day, she entered a writing contest sponsored by a major publishing house, hoping against hope. Meanwhile, cracks began to form in Julian's perfect world. His father, Reginald Hargrove, had been embroiled in a shady investment scheme. Whispers of fraud circulated in boardrooms, but Julian dismissed them as jealousy. "Dad's untouchable," he'd boast to friends over whiskey. Then the storm hit. Federal investigators raided Hargrove Investments. Reginald was arrested for embezzlement, siphoning millions from client funds to cover personal debts. The news exploded across headlines. Hargrove empire crumbles, father-son duo implicated in massive fraud. Julian was stunned. He wasn't directly involved, but the association tainted him. Clients fled, his job vanished overnight, and his assets were frozen pending investigation. His penthouse seized, his luxury car repossessed. Friends who once fawned over him now ghosted his calls. In a matter of weeks, Julian Hargrove went from millionaire to broke, crashing on a cousin's couch in a modest suburb. On his first day, clad in an ill-fitting uniform, Julian fumbled with the espresso machine. Customers complained about his slow service, his incorrect orders. He bit back retorts, remembering his empty bank account. "This is temporary," he told himself. "I'll bounce back." Fate, however, had more in store. One rainy afternoon, Alara walked into his shop. She had just received life-changing news. Her novel won the contest. A six-figure advance, a book deal, and interest from Hollywood. Overnight, she was the talk of literary circles. She quit the coffee shop, moved to a cozy apartment, and began her new life as an author. She didn't recognize Julian at first. He was behind the counter, head down, wiping spills. But when he looked up, their eyes met. Recognition dawned, followed by horror on his part. "Alara," he stammered. She smiled faintly. "Julian, small world." He forced a laugh, but it came out hollow. "Yeah, UH. What can I get you?" "Just a black coffee," she said, her voice kind but distant. As he prepared it, his hands shook. Memories flooded back his mockery, her quiet endurance. He handed her the cup, mumbling the price. She paid with a crisp bill, leaving a generous tip. "Keep the change," she said. "Ambition comes in many forms, remember." Julian's face burned. He watched her leave, umbrella in hand, stepping into a waiting car. That night, alone in his cousin's spare room, he reflected on his fall. Poverty wasn't a choice. It was a cruel twist of fate. And now it was his reality. But the tables weren't done turning. Alara's book, titled From Ashes to Stars became a bestseller. It chronicled a protagonist much like herself, mocked by an arrogant rival who faces his own downfall. Readers speculated about real-life inspirations, but Alara never confirmed. Interviews poured in, speaking engagements followed, and her wealth grew. She invested wisely, started a foundation for underprivileged writers, and found joy in mentoring others. Julian, meanwhile, struggled. The coffee job paid minimum wage, barely covering basics. He sold his designer clothes on consignment, ate ramen, and learned the sting of eviction notices. One evening, after a grueling shift, he picked up Alara's book from a library. Reading it, he saw himself in the villain cruel, blind to privilege. It hit like a punch. Driven by remorse, Julian sought her out. He found her at a book signing in an upscale bookstore. Waiting in line, he clutched a copy, heart pounding. When his turn came, Alara looked up, surprise flickering in her eyes. "Julian," she said softly. I read your book," he began, voice cracking. "I'm sorry for everything. I was an idiot, blinded by my own ego. You didn't deserve any of it." She steadied him, seeing the change's hollow cheeks, weary eyes. "Apologies are a start," she replied, "but words are cheap. What are you doing now?" "Trying to rebuild," he admitted. "It's harder than I imagined." Alara nodded. "Poverty teaches humility. Use it." As he walked away, something shifted in Julian. He enrolled in night classes, studying business ethics. He volunteered at shelters, listening to stories like Alara's. Slowly, he clawed his way back not to wealth, but to purpose. Years passed. Alara's career soared. She wrote sequels, traveled the world. Julian founded a nonprofit helping exonerees from financial scandals reintegrate. Their paths crossed again at a charity gala. This time, they talked as equals. "You've changed," Alara noted. "Thanks to you," Julian said. Fate turned the tables, but you showed me how to flip them right. She smiled. Fate had help from karma. In the end, they forged an unlikely friendship. Proof that mockery can turn to respect and poverty to power. The city of Eldridge continued its hum, but for Lara and Julian, the lesson was etched forever. Fortunes rise and fall, but humanity endures.